hit like, and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Good morning, family at Cairo. Welcome back to Ascending. I am your happy, excited, joyful, bubbly host this morning, April R. Silver. You are watching Ascending, and as you know, we go live every Saturday. I want to welcome all of our viewers, especially the loyal viewers. We know some of y'all just check in on a regular basis, be it live or afterwards. So thank you so much for continuously watching the show. Thank you for telling people about the show. We are going to have an amazing, powerful show. I do want to thank. Let's do that again. I do want to thank the A team, my A team. I want to thank the Marc Lamont Hill official team members as well. And now I want to tell you what the topic is going to be about. Today's topic is going to be an amazing conversation called Black Power, Black Lawyer, an audacious conversation about justice with Nkechi Taifa. So I can tell you right now, buckle up. Like this is going to be exciting. I'm so just excited beyond words to have a full conversation on this very, very special month. We're going to talk about the month that it is, which is Black August. But you know how we do. Before you tell us where you're ascending from, please put that in the live chat. We're going to do in memoriam. We're going to do bookmark. We're going to do what's the other thing we do? Black Media Shutout. So let's jump right into it, fam. If you're watching on Twitter, on Marc Lamont Hill's Twitter channel, you know the drill. Go over to YouTube. That's really important. So let's just jump in to in memoriam. This is a new feature that we have. I can't get everybody, right? I can't get everybody, but I do want to do in memoriam to Hitman Howie T, a beloved hip hop producer. For those who are listening and not watching, we are on the screen. The in memoriam is Howie T, a beloved hip hop producer who passed away just days ago. And if you are in Harlem, from Harlem, know much about Harlem at all, then you know at least the impact of Mr. Lloyd Williams, who passed away, who has been called Harlem's cultural champion. So to the Williams family, some of the members, his son, who I know, I send my condolences, and to everyone who has passed. I wanted to definitely do that and say rest in peace. We're gonna prepare to pull up a picture for the next in memoriam, which is Eddie Palmieri, the pianist, the band leader, the arranger, the composer of Latin jazz, NEA jazz master. He passed away passed away on August 6th. Sorry. So you see a picture. I feel bad if you're not watching and maybe you're just listening, but there's a picture of the icon at Jazz in the Valley. So I chose that picture in particular because if you've been watching the show, you know we have a connection to Jazz in the Valley. So more on that later. But I want to invite you all to go to my YouTube, not my YouTube page, my Facebook page, be it my personal or Killer Work Songs, because there's an amazing video that I just posted like 2 or 3 hours ago of Mr. Palmieri at the Blue Note doing a piece with Savion Glover. It's phenomenal. Just go check out that reel on his page. Of course, the family, someone is handling that page, but it's also on the my pages as well. I shared it from their official page. I shared that this morning, but it's a nice, invigorating piece that will lift your spirits. So rest in peace. And shout out to the Palmieri family and all of the jazz lovers for sure. So I definitely wanted to do that. You all will also know we could take that picture down because I want to bring up the next one in memoriam. Is today is the day that we lost Michael Brown, August 9th, 2014. That was a very pivotal moment in our history, in our culture. I should say when he was murdered. I shouldn't say that we lost him. I need to be more specific. Um, but for those who I know, many people here remembered that that's the day for today that that he was killed in Ferguson. But I wanted to show a picture also of a picture that kind of captures at least just a little bit of what we have been going through as people of African ancestry in this country with regard to law enforcement and police. You all might remember this picture, but when the protests um, just came about because of this heinous act. Uh, we were all over the place. I was there in Ferguson, but not during the protest. It was like a month or two later, just to pay homage to that sacred ground. But this picture really does kind of capture just a little bit. For those who are listening and not watching, it is police in full gear coming toward or surging toward unarmed black man with his hands up, and it's gripping. But I wanted to show that on purpose while we're paying homage to the life and legacy of Michael Brown. I wanted to show what we go through and what his murder triggered. So I wanted to show that on purpose. So so yeah, let's remember that we can't do enough. We cannot do enough. If we amongst the living here cannot do enough to make sure that the living of all of our those who have been killed and murdered at the hands of law enforcement in whatever capacity. We can't do enough to make sure that we bring balance and peace and justice to our communities in particular. There's no such thing as doing enough. And sometimes if all you can do is do memory and say their names out loud, if that's all you can do, then let it be so. Um, on that note, we have a special in memoriam as well for the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey Jr., whose birthday, I was about to do it again, his birthday, born August 17th, which is next Sunday, 1887. We're going to talk about his legacy, and there's no such thing as talking too much about Marcus Messiah Garvey Jr. I don't know that there's such a thing as talking too much about the impact um, of him and his legacy and who his work influenced. The whole organization, not just him, but our special guest is going to talk about this a little bit more. For those who are listening and not watching, was the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, and Pan Africanist extraordinaire, born in Jamaica, did so much of his work in Harlem, here in New York. So we're going to get into that a little bit more, but there was no way I could do in memoriam and not mention him. So I want to see your comments at the end, family, about what you know, the impact of all of these people. So feel free to come off the typewriter and put that in the live chat, right? So let's get into the other segments that we do, which is bookmark. The bookmark that we're going to do now is definitely going to be related to our special guest. Every week we talk about the books that we would like you to read, the books that are in my library. We're going to talk about this Black Power, Black Lawyer, and Audition and My Audacious Quest for Justice by Nkechi Taifa, came out in 2024. We're going to talk about that. Look at that lovely cover. So definitely go ahead and put that in your books to buy. And needless to say, we want you to buy it from a Black or progressive or indie bookstore. So that's bookmark reminder. We always want you to get your stuff from Black folks, including Uncle Bobby's. So the bookmark reminders for you to support Black-owned bookstores, be they online or brick and mortar, like Uncle Bobby's. I love this picture of Marc outside, well, inside his bookstore. That's a brick and mortar building in Philadelphia, founded in 2017. So definitely, family, put that in your queue if you don't already have it. So on that note, let's do Black Media Shout Out. That's another segment. Black Media Shout Out. is to my friend Todd Stephen Burrows, Doctor. Well, let me honor the way he presents himself. Todd Stephen Burrows, PhD. He has a blog that he's been doing for so long, drumsinthe.globalvillage.com. Drums in theglobalvillage.com. An amazing journalist. He's now at Seton Hall, I believe. We'll get that verified. But he's been so supportive of Aquila Work Songs. He's been so supportive of me. He's just a really all around amazing human being, and he blogs about pop culture. If you're a comics geek, so many of you are. I don't know if that's appropriate to use the term geek. I don't know. That's not my world, but I know he's on top of it. So definitely go to drumsinthe.globalvillage.com. Shout out to Todd Stephen Burrows. Your support, your intellect, your energy, and what you decide to cover is important to me. It's important to us, and we thank you. And I just wanted to shout you out. That's what we do on Black Media Shout Out Family. So let's jump in. Did you all tell us where you're watching from? Be sure to do that. Be sure to do that. So let's welcome to the ascending platform, the ascending space, our beloved Nkechi Taifa. How are you, sis?
I am absolutely fabulous, and listening to your shout outs and your historical anecdotes and all, it just really warms my heart. April Silver, how are you, my sister?
I am excellent. I have been giddy and excited about talking to you. Um, Now, I'm gonna tell on myself a little bit. I reached out to you just a couple of weeks ago, but you have like literally since Marc said, April, do you want to do a show on my channel, which was 7 months ago. I've wanted you on. I knew I was going to have you so we can just learn from you and be with you and feel your energy because it's enriching, but that's how much you mean to me, to us, for all the work that you've done. So I'm good now. I'm excellent now that you're here.
Well, thank you so very much. And I've always honored and admired you, all of your great work from when you were a student way back in the day at Howard University to all the work that you do with the Keeler's work songs. And now you're with Marc Lamont Hill. I mean, sister, your trajectory has been phenomenal.
Wow, I thank you. I thank you. And for those who haven't gotten sick of me yet, we are both, Nkechi and I are both Howard alum at different times, but it is what it is. So shout out to all of our Bison family. So let's jump right in. Like it's so much that you can talk about. And as I said to you before, reparations, yes. The importance of Black August, yes. The work that you've done in so many different fields, in so many different ways. You've been the activist attorney of note, right? Who we all trust and follow your lead in so many different ways. And you have decided, let's start with the book. You have decided to put all of that in your memoir, right? And when I revisited the deep dive in your life, I was reminded that you didn't just start this as a college student, right? You came of came of age as a student and a believer and an upholder of the Black Power movement, the Black arts movement, and you meant it. like, like it wasn't a trend, right? It wasn't the thing that people did in the 60s and 70s, and you was just trying to be down with the, what was popular. Like you meant it in your core. So let's start with your point of origin
Okay.
into the Black Power movement. Let's start there, please.
All right. So I'm going to just tell you just a little bit about my story, if I can. So I was a little Black girl growing up in the mid 50s and in the 60s. I was a little Black girl who was shocked sitting on the floor of the library of my parents' home and reading about Emmett Till. Okay. I was a little Black girl who was shocked to find out that Fannie Lou Hamer was arrested just for trying to register to vote when I was in kindergarten. Okay. I was dumbfounded because I realized that all these things didn't happen way back in slavery times, which in my young mind was millions of years ago. I had no concept of time, but was right there in the present during my childhood. I was an 8th grader who was mesmerized by the poster on my 8th grade Black Studies class of a Black man with a black beret on his head, with a rifle in one hand and a spear in the other hand, sitting on a Grand Slam wicker chair. And I was wondering why the head of the Black Panther Party was in prison. I was wondering why he was being represented by white lawyers. I was wondering where are the Black lawyers to represent the Black people. Yeah, a progressive lawyer, a movement lawyer, but where were the Black lawyers? Okay. So then in high school, I was really immersed in Black power, Black pride, Black is beautiful. I looked in an African names book and I picked out a name for myself. And anybody who's from Nigeria knows I do not pronounce my name the way it would be pronounced if I were in Nigeria. It should be pronounced Nkechi. But our tongues were colonized. I didn't know the correct pronunciation. It looked like Nkechi to me. And so that's how I pronounced that. I wore African Day Gele on my head, celebrated Kwanzaa. I helped to organize, not helped to organize, but I was part of the supporters who organized the first African Liberation Day celebration that was in Washington, D.C. in 1972. I started a Saturday school for Black children because we did not have all of the richness that we see today in terms of books for information for young people. I sold Black Panther newspapers on the streets of Washington, D.C. while I'm in high school. I was never a Black Panther. I just, as I see in my memoir, I relished sitting on the lap of that fine brother who was supposed to be pulling security in the front office. But I did go down there every Saturday and sell Panther papers. So all of this was before college. So while in college, Howard University, first of all, my parents made me go to this all-white girls Catholic school in Maryland. So let me tell you, I was craving melanin and chocolate. So I'm going to Howard. You know what I'm saying? So I was burning desire to right societal wrongs. This was during the time of the anti-apartheid movement. I rallied in support of political prisoners, went down to North Carolina, Wilmington. Ben Chavis was in prison at that time with the Wilmington 10. So I was involved with all of that, involved in so many things while in college. The Black arts movement. John Oliver Killings was at Howard at that time. Hakeem Matabuti was there. Sterling Brown was still there. In fact, Sterling Brown from the poet laureate of Howard, not the actor Sterling Brown that we know today, even wrote something on the back of one of my books for children. God, I got so many books here.
That's a good thing.
Anyway, I'm just going from memory now. Sterling Brown, Sonia Sanchez, because we knew everybody back then. Haki Matabuti, Jawanza Kunjufu, they all wrote something on the back of my book.
And it's on your website. And it's on your those quotes are on your website. We're gonna put your website up.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, see, I did my thing.
This was back in 1980, you know. So anyway, I'm just saying that this was all before becoming a lawyer. Okay, I was immersed with the movements of the day, the anti-apartheid movement, the movement to free Black political prisoners, the new African independence movement, which really was the one that occupied the elephant's chair of my time. I taught at an independent Black school. So then finally, since I'd always wanted to be a lawyer, ever since seeing that poster of Huey Newton and being represented by white lawyers, I just said, I need to just go on and like my daddy said, get that darn law degree. So I went to law school, went to George Washington University National Law School while I was working at night, while I was working full-time during the day at the Washington Office on Africa, which was a sister organization to Trans-Africa, as you can you might say. And so I was just so much. So all of this, most of what I know and what I've done as lawyer now is not what I learned in law school. It's from my life experiences in the movement, you know. And then just the last thing I would say, and then I'll just let you take the interview. But
yours.
Because when I was coming up, I learned everything on my own. Okay, there was nothing they did start bringing Black studies in the school, and that's when my Black studies class when I was in 8th grade. But by and large, everything was self-taught. Man-Child in the Promised Land, one of the first books, a pictorial history of the Negro in America, which I found in my parents' library. They had that story about Emmett Till. Emmett. And when I found out I was born like 5 months before Emmett Till was assassinated and lynched. And it's like, this was all in my lifetime. So all of that had just such a deep, deep, deep impact on me and my whole life's trajectory, all the way down to today, where I am 70 years old right now. I'm proud to say it because I've been through a lot and I got a whole lot more to,
Oh
to
my
do.
gosh. I knew this was going to be pure fire. I knew this was going to be pure fire. I love it. Um, we talk about this a lot, and I'd like your personal take. Well, first, let me acknowledge, because it sounds like you grew up in a household where your thinking, your perspective on things was encouraged by your parents. That's we need to pay homage to them, yes, because that's what it sounds like.
Absolutely, yeah, and I do mention that in my book. My parents were very supportive. I've never had a perm in my life, so from wearing natural hair to adopting an African name. I mean, my parents, they attended Kwanzaa events with me. They went to Tai Chi classes. They went to the shooting range with me. I mean, I'm just saying, my parents, they were not revolutionary. They were just ordinary Black people, middle class, folk, but they supported me. And I think that that just meant a whole lot. I don't know how to
Yeah,
sugarcoat that any other way.
but this sounds revolutionary in and of itself, right?
Yes.
Given all of the institutions that exist to make sure that we're not revolutionary in our thinking, in our clothing, in our language. That it seems like it might be fair to say that they were indeed revolutionary on a basic level. But I wanted to ask you, because you were doing this from like something was sparked inside of you as a child, right? So that means you who have been in countless organizations as a member, as a supporter, as a volunteer, in leadership or whatever, you have seen the full gamut of what it means when Black folks come together. And we have plenty of examples of that being a glorious, transformative experience, right? Us being in organizations in the movement. I am
Yes.
sure that you have had examples when it has been the opposite. With the infighting, with egos, with whatever. So can you talk a little bit about how you overcame when our humanity, the dark side of our humanity shows up in this movement work, but you still push forward? Can you talk about that a little bit?
So let me just say, in the movement, we didn't know it at the time, but a lot of the dissension and the backstabbing and fighting that was going on was U.S. governmental orchestrated. It was later that we found out about the FBI's once secret, quite illegal program to disrupt and destroy Black movements in particular, and general movements in general. And that was the COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program. And then I actually read these almost millions of pages of documents blacked out, with the names of all, and they were um, giving homage to each other. I'm talking about the FBI, that who
Yeah.
could more successfully disrupt and destroy. And we're not just talking about the radicals and the Black Panther Party, but Martin Luther King, and then celebrities. You just name it. Anybody who was Black that had influence, they sought to tear down. So even today, when and first of all, COINTELPRO never ended. It simply
Right. Right.
transformed. They called it different names, Black identity extremists, and the
Yeah.
list on and on. But I always keep in the back of my mind where there's something weird going on. I said something actually behind this weirdness. An elder back when I was in my early 20s, an elder in the Republic of New Africa called Papa Wells from Detroit. Papa Wells thought that Amari Abubakari Obadeli, who was the president of the Republic of New Africa, the organization, the entity that I spent a lot of my time with, was stealing money from people Where did he get that idea from? From the FBI. We saw documents that said how they um um oh I just can't even go into it. All the tremendous things. There are books out there that tell about all of those things now. But then you see dissensions that's going on in the movement today, in the reparations movement, and a lot of different movements, and you wonder how much of that is real, because we know we are not a monolithic people. Okay, we have many differences of opinion, and then that is quite right, and that's quite healthy. But when certain things devolve into things that are just quite perplexing, and you wonder, is there something else behind this? And we can't prove it. At least at this time, we couldn't prove the COINTELPRO back then. It wasn't until March 30th, 1977, when the first of 10 pages of thousands of documents were released on the Republic of New Africa, we found the depths that the FBI went to foment distrust, to foment violence, to try to get La Costa Nostra to be engaged against the Republic of New Africa, to try to get Ku Klux Klan sympathizers in Mississippi to engage in violence, to get the Black Panther Party to I think that other groups such as the Republic of New Africa was trying to take over and diminish. I mean, it was really diabolical. Okay. And
That part.
so
That part.
we just
Yeah.
have to, what do we do to overcome this? We need to understand the past. We need to know the history. Okay. And we don't need to just take everything at face value. We gotta, like you said,
I need
ascending. We
you
need
to
to
say
go
that again. Can you say that again, please?
not take everything at face value. We need to go look at the roots, what's underneath the surface that might be accelerating much of the tensions that we see going on today.
I think that you illuminated and you hit the nail on the head, and I'm so glad that you did, because a couple of things, and I know I think Rolando's probably here. He always says I'm not in the comments, but if it's not already in the chat, COINTELPRO, I would want people to look that up, because you are so spot on when we talk about its impact on our movement work. And to your point, Nkechi, is not just on radical blacks from the 60s or 50s, 60s, and 70s or whatever, but it's lay people. Like you said, it's celebrities with the purpose of dismantling. And I promise you, I believe why I got so excited. This inability to go to the source is a problem in our community and today's society, and social media is not helping. People will take a headline and just make and that's it, a headline, and they'll make up shit, that other part too. So I thank you for illuminating that. um yeah, that there's a lot there, and you persevered, how do I want to get into some hardcore politics, but I still want to stay on this personal thing for just a moment. How emotionally, what did you do when it takes a lot to stay fighting, and you just now told us you're 70. You look amazing, sis, by the way. Your energy is amazing. You look wonderful. But personally, beyond recognizing that COINTELPRO is alive and well, was there anything else that you did to shore up your stance and to stay focused? Because I would imagine there were some hard moments.
Well, I will say that as a Black woman lawyer living in the US, I really faced a lot of challenges, both professionally as well as personally. I essentially navigated two worlds, one as a connoisseur of Black power and pride and culture, adorned with the African name and African hair wraps and natural hair, and then the other transversing through society, working in mainstream organization, hobnobbing with establishment luminaries, while trying my best not to suppress the authenticity of myself. And so I essentially brought both worlds together. My memoir talks about that. I do, I guess I was able to stay focused, I guess you could say. because of the movement that I was a part of, and always keeping central in my mind that we must continue, okay, and we must be steadfast, and we must not let life's craziness, get us down. We used to call, I guess we still do, but we used to call the work that we did the struggle, because it was a struggle. I mean, we had our 9 to 5, and then we worked in the after hours in the movement. And so I love your generation after you, April, when y'all talk about self-care. And that's why I say I'm taking the month of August as vacation. Y'all talk about self-care, you talk about healing, all of those things that we didn't do because we were struggling. But I'm learning now that in order to struggle to the infinite, you got to take care of yourself. I learned this late in life. Okay. So I'm hoping that other people who come after still do the work. Okay. But take care of self well.
Yes. I saw you dancing wherever you were. You posted your videos in your white with your 2-step. And I saw that, and that's encouraging. There's an episode, Sonia Sanchez, in the very beginning of the series. She talks about that as well. And she used to always tell me what you said, what you just now said, April. We shamed people when they needed to take a break or respite or whatever. And we know better now. You know what I mean? She applauded me when I took my first and only trip to Puerto Rico by myself, just to get away. You know what I mean? Like, she was like, good for you. So it's encouraging to us to hear people like you who are staunch, fighters, and you've been victorious. It's encouraging to hear people like you say, no, it's okay to take your rest. Yeah. So thank you.
It's also important, if I can too, because it's not just all about revolution and militancy. We have personal lives as well, and I talk about that in my memoir, in my book, because it's not just about the movement, it's not just about the work. And so that's why I say my memoir, yes, it's serious, but it also has a bit of scandalousness in it as well. It's a juicy story of history, politics, love, culture, and yes, a romance. And
but you got it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. But I'm gonna ask you to
read. Saying, I'm just saying, there's been challenges, there's been personal struggles, there've been battle scars, but it's also been human, unhealthy relationships, that's human, failed marriages, that's human, workplace devastations, that's human, setbacks, that's human. So I talk about all of that as part of my memoir, as well as the high points and the low points, I guess you can say. It's scandalous, but it's juicy, but it's also very true, and it's very authentic. And that's what I think is very critical, that when we tell our stories, that we do tell it with authenticity. We're not up on a pinnacle somewhere. We're very real human people going through human experiences while we're living out our life's assignment.
You are hitting the nail on the head again, because one of my besties and I always talk about, like, this work becomes more believable and sustainable when we do what you just said, right? Talk about the failures, talk about the overcoming and such. It becomes critical so people can understand you need not have a cape on to do this work and to fight for people of African ancestry and to educate oneself and be disciplined and focused and to evolve. And you can still be human. But so sorry that I was trying to jump in a moment ago, but you can't say the word scandal and say that, it's a little bit scandalous in your book and not give us a little bit of a hint. Like, and family, y'all know, Ascending, y'all know that I don't put out books on here as a bookmark that I don't read, but this is an exception. So I'm behind. So tell us what you're talking about, sis. Like, what the hell?
Oh, man. Okay, I'm just going to give you a couple of the titles of some of the chapters. So some of the more spicy ones, I'll just say. Well, one is putting spice in life is not always nice. Me Too, long before there was #Me Too. where we got sex, lies, and videotape. That's just some of the more spicier
Right, right.
good girl, bad boys, and the struggle. Okay, I mean,
Okay, I
I'm just
got you.
saying that's just you. But
That
and
that's a good start.
oh, the book came out a while ago in 2020. A Husband Through the Classified, and that was back when it wasn't popular. I mean, so
Yes.
excuse me, the three husbands that I've had.
Okay. Three
But
husbands.
also political
But
prisoners,
that's real.
everything. Yeah, it gives you a little bit of everything. You can just scroll through the contents to see what strikes your fancy.
Right, right, right. I think it's important. And especially in 2025, it has become the expectation. Would you say? It has become the expectation that so many of our movement activists and organizers, nonprofit leaders who are doing this work, it has almost become a authenticity, and being vulnerable has almost become, I dare say, an expectation. You're not
Mhm.
coming out in the world doing community work if, and I don't know if I fully agree to to the extent that people are letting everything hang out. I'm not, but I thank you for your vulnerability. I thank you in advance for your vulnerability and sharing those things that make you human. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's jump into the work, since this is Black August, since next weekend, August 17th, is the would be the or it's the heavenly birthday, to use a popular phrase, for Marcus Garvey. You have been a part of a mass movement to make sure that he gets pardoned. So take us on that journey, because he was in December 2024 under the Biden administration. So can you give us some backstory there and bring us to that?
Yeah, so the Garvey movement, Marcus Garvey in particular, has been always been very personal to me. But it wasn't until relatively recently that I really found out that my grandfather had. I knew that he was always part of the Garvey movement, but I didn't know he was the actual legionnaire, which was the military arm of the of the Garvey movement. I could just kick myself. I searched through my uncle's house and all like that. I could not find one Garvey Black Star Line certificate or anything like that. That's why it's important to pass down information to your family line. So I think it was in my blood that I always was drawn to Marcus Garvey and the Garvey movement. Up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Look for me in the whirlwind, all of the above. I did poems on Garvey about there's one of in one of my books, there's a story on Marcus Garvey and the like. So, then as a lawyer, we talk about, you know, he was unjustly incarcerated. He was actually one of the first targets of what later became known as the COINTELPRO, the first targets of a young J. Edgar Hoover, who was part of the predecessor of the Federal Bureau of
Yes,
Investigation. And it was again, Garvey was rising in prominence. I mean, all over Harlem, all over the country, all over the world, people were talking
yes,
about Garvey because he was part of the downtrodden. And yes, what were the divisions between the bourgeoisie, who we love as well, W.B. Du Bois and the like, and Garvey, the grassroots person? There were machinations of predecessor to FBI,
yes.
you know, back then. So anyway, Garvey was unjustly convicted. Everyone knew that everything was unjust. He was um, let out of prison, but he was exiled. He could not come back to the United States. But his name was never cleared, and his family, his son, his oldest son, who recently who passed, and his current son, Dr. Julius
Dr.
Garvey, have
Julius.
always
Yeah.
been on a quest. Yeah, for his exoneration, what we call in these days a pardon. So, as a lawyer, I was working very closely with administrations on the issue of clemency, of which pardon is part of. And I brought this issue to them. It's not like they didn't know about it, but sometimes when you have somebody on the inside and you know personally who the pardon attorney is, and you go in with the law firm Akin Gump and Justin Hansford and folk who have been working on the case and lay it
Yes.
out to them, and they did. Then the partner attorney let me know what one of the issues was, and one of it was the Jewish community, because Garvey had made certain remarks during his trial. He had the judge was Jewish and all. I mean, it was just hogwash. I mean, really, it wasn't really anything, but that was some of the holdback. So we extricated all of that. We got Golda Downer from Howard University was very instrumental, and it just all came together. So on Biden's almost last day in office, I forgot just he finally did what should have been done decades and decades ago, a pardon for the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. And the UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association, always talked about exoneration. And as far as I'm concerned, we exonerated Garvey. The pardon was the most that we were going to get from the U.S. government. And there have not been many what they call posthumous pardon, meaning after death pardons. And Garvey, I think, was the fourth one. And so that was a victory. We need to herald it as the victory it was, because it educates a whole new generation of people to who Marcus Garvey was and the movement that he inspired. So many, all dots, I say, April, all dots lead back to Garvey.
Yeah.
Malcolm led back to Garvey. Both his mother and his father were Garveyites. All dots lead back to Garvey. Queen Mother Moore of the Reparations movement was a Garveyite. All dots lead back to Garvey.
Bring it.
Yeah, so I talk about all of that in my book, which came out in 2020 and 2020. And a lot of what I talk about the book has already come to pass. Garvey's been pardoned. Sundiata Acoli has been released. Dr. Mutulu Shakur has been released. Leonard Peltier has been released. Buju Banton has been released. William Underwood. These are Geronimo. These were all cases that I worked on. And again, the crowning joy was to see these political prisoners who have been incarcerated, some over 50 years, finally walking out of prison. So when I do my audiobook, I have to do a little intro that tells about all the successes that have happened just since 2020 when my book came out.
And that's why we honor you. That's why we are so happy that you're with us, because those stories are critical. And one of the things, like I said to you before, why we do Ascending is to break ground. When you were talking about the Honorable Marcus Garvey, oh, and what an honor it would be. I'm gonna lean on you and everybody else. I would love to have Dr. Julius Garvey on the show.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I work very closely with him. I mean, I can't begin to tell you. And he's in his 90s, a vascular surgeon. Retired.
Yes,
phenomenal.
in New York. I know. But this is what we do. We break ground. You mentioned in the whirlwind, and I don't know if people know that the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey Jr. was a poet, as well. I don't know if that's like the first thing that comes out. And Stanley Nelson did a documentary on him years ago called "Look for Me in the Whirlwind."
Whirlwind, yes.
Amazing documentary by our beloved Stanley Nelson. Oh, I just had a thought. Maybe I should get him on the show as well. We've worked together. But thank you for putting that in context. But wait, so pardon my ignorance. It seems like you were making the distinction between exoneration and pardon. Did I hear you? Did I hear that nuance?
Yeah, well, what it is that the Universal Negro Improvement Association has always called for an exoneration. Okay, in many people's minds, a pardon and say, okay, you did wrong and we'll pardon you. Well, there was no wrongdoing by Garvey.
Right.
So that's why we talk about exoneration. Yeah. But again, we take our victories as we can, and we must frame the narrative around what it means. So in my humble opinion, the UNA talks about we pardon Garvey. As far as I'm concerned with the pardon, we, the community, we pardon Garvey. We exonerated, we exonerated Garvey. He was pardoned by the government. We have exonerated him because he never was guilty of anything, in the first place.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you discovered that you said your grandfather. So that connection is through and through. So thank you for your work. Thank you for what you contributed, to that movement so that we could have that in just December 2024. I know that came down. Let's shift if we can to talk about your reparations work as well. You have been a leading voice, on the legal front. So let's talk about that work, past and current, if you wouldn't mind. Let's jump in.
Yeah, so actually when I talked about being a teenager selling Black Panther newspapers on the streets of Washington D.C., I actually sat on the curb one hot day and actually opened up the paper and it went to the part what we want, what we believe. And I would never
Yes,
forget that point number 3 of the Black Panther Party's 10-point program, talking about, in essence, reparations. We believe that this racist government has robbed us, and now we're demanding our overdue payment of 40 acres and 2 mules. I don't know where they got the 2 from, but anyway. And so it was about reparations. And so from that time, from a teenager, I've always felt the profound importance of reparations, what we call today also reparatory justice. I was a founding member of NCOVA, National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, in 1987. This was during the time when the Japanese American were trying to get their reparations for their unjust incarceration during World War II. And so we looked around and said, well, they gave reparations to Japanese Americans. Surely there should be no issue as to the U.S. government giving us reparations. So we worked very closely with Congressman John Conyers. And in 1989, the H.R. 40 was first formulated. And I had just been on a mission ever since then to raise the banner of this issue of longstanding import. In 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, I mean, everything just opened up. I mean, everybody was talking about reparations, from the candidates vying for the 2020, election, to the mama on the corner. It was a time. And so I formed a nonprofit called Reparation Education Project to serve to educate people and to provide information about this movement that had been so very near to dear to me. I did a TEDx talk on the issue. Just Google Nkechi Taifa TEDx or TED Talk reparations. And there were things that even at that late time, 2020, that I had not known. I knew about Haiti, and of course the Haitian Revolution. We talk about Black August. It was during that particular time period. But that I knew that they were forced to pay reparations to France. But what I did not know, April, was that those reparation payments continue all the way down through 1947. But that Haiti was required to still pay reparations. I did not know at that time that England, when it abolished slavery in 1833, paid reparations not to Black folk, but to the white people, the former white slave owners. But guess what? That those reparation payments continue all the way down through 2000 something 25 or something like that. It's in my TED talk. I mean, this was like yesterday. They're still paying reparations to the descendants of the white folk who enslaved us. We're talking about Britain, so something's not quite right with that picture. So I wrote a book, Reparations on Fire, How and Why It's Spreading, across America. Former alderman of Evanston, Illinois, Robin Boo Simmons, used a creative mechanism, tax revenue from the illegal cannabis industry, to deal with one small segment of reparatory justice, i.e. redlining, housing inequities in Evanston, Illinois. And that really kind of opened the floodgates, because now we have nearly 100 jurisdictions across this country establishing commissions or task forces looking at abuses in their own backyard and seeking to rectify. 4 states, the state of California, the state of New York, the state of Illinois, well, almost 3.5 states. We were hoping it would be the state of Maryland, but unfortunately our dear Wes Moore, the governor,
Wes Moore, yeah.
vetoed the bill, but hopefully that's going to change. But have statewide commissions. New Jersey said they're going to do the people said they're going to do their own investigation. They, did a study. Universities, Harvard University, Georgetown, where you have the GU 272 ships manifest that showed that the reason why Georgetown University stands today is because of the Black folk that they sold literally down the river, down south to Louisiana, to use those funds to keep Georgetown University afloat. That's why it still stands today. So there's a lot of reparatory justice. The Episcopal Church is looking at their own complicity in the issue. So reparations is an issue whose time has come. It's not a fairy tale or anything along those lines. It's very real. And even Trump is talking about reparations. Except he's talking about reparations for the January 6th insurrectionists. He's talking about reparations for the apartheid era white folk who he's brought over here. That's what he's talking about. We need to make sure that we keep our narrative out front, because our narrative is the one rightful and just.
Say that. I didn't know about Britain or England. I didn't, that part. I knew about the Haiti, but I didn't know the things that you said you were learning as you were doing this work.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you illuminated here, right? So we want to encourage people to definitely learn more. And I did a piece on reparations, and it featured one of my besties, Akanke, Rhymefest, Chief Ayanda Clark. This was maybe 2 years ago, in partnership with some good folks, the Breath Project specifically. So I want to ask you, because the intention of that program, and it's on YouTube, was to talk about reparations and beyond. And there's still a lot of people who don't fully get it as passionately as you do, right? They're like, oh, you can never pay people enough for what was done. And some people want to go straight to the process. How are you going to give back the money? That's the only thing they want to hang their hat on, right? Is the process and not the ideology or the concept. What do you think people get wrong most about reparations for our community, not globally, but just for our community? What have you seen that people get wrong the most from your perspective?
So I would say that one of the things is that people think that reparations is just about the money. It's just cut the check. It's just about cash. But reparations is far, first of all, that is a part of it. I ain't going to say that. But it's far, far, far more than that. It's about healing. It's about justice. It's about making amends. I always say that the harms from the enslavement era and its living legacies, meaning that last down through to today, the harms were multifaceted. Thus, the remedies must be multifaceted as well. And a reparation settlement can be as in many forms as necessary to equitably address the countless harms that have come down to us. So I think just cash only is one of the things that we kind of get wrong, and also thinking that it's only for the enslavement era. Oh, no. It's for everything that flowed the slavery from the enslavement era, the sharecropping and the Jim Crow and the Jim Crow apartheid system, the disparities in education, the inequities in healthcare, the mass incarceration, all of those are vestiges from the enslavement era. All of these dots lead back, and it needs to be understood that we need to look at the issue of reparations in that comprehensive type of approach. And we don't need to get into this name calling and this nitty gritty stuff about just stuff. I mean, I'm just saying we need to come together and unite on the justness of this cause.
I appreciate that you said that, and I love that you said in as many forms as necessary. In terms of that, I want to get to the comments in a quick second, but before we do, tell us about the education project, the reparation education project. Tell us about that, and then we have a couple of questions that are starred that we're going to pull up for you. But before we do, tell us about that latest venture, if you would, please.
Yes, well, the Reparation Education Project is a 501c3, a nonprofit dedicated to strengthening and expanding the reparations movement in the United States as well as globally. As well, we provide technical assistance, we provide education and information on reparations to nonprofit organizations, to philanthropy, to corporations and industries, to academic institutions, faith institutions, grassroots organizations, to the community. And we have loads of material on our website, www.reparationeducationproject.org. That's reparations without the S. My TED Talk is on there. So much more. Books about reparations are on there. We have fact sheets, fact information sheets. We have a reparation information thought series. There's just a lot of resources that are there that are part of the Reparation Education Project. So that's what it is. And we also have a monthly convening called the Reparation Movement Monthly Meetup for people just interested in learning more about it, groups that have just started on the issue and they want to put some names to faces. That
Yeah.
information can be found on the website, reparationeducationproject.org as well. Oh, and we also have a video, music video that came out, how we're going to make reparations rise, agitate, educate, organize. Yeah, so that just recently came out, partnered with First Repair and Bliss organization.
Okay, that's excellent. While the guys go ahead and put that website on the screen as a banner, while they do that, guys, I'm going to handle some of the questions. So let me go ahead and rock with that for a minute, because we're going to put that website, reparationeducationproject.org. That's going to go on the screen for those who are watching. But I want to get into some of the comments. I see some nice ones here. Um, I got to share this one first, though. Uh, Someone said you look amazing for 70. I would agree. Julie Russo.
Hey,
Thanks for
let me
watching.
tell y'all, Harriet Tubman married a man 20 years her juniors.
I know, I know.
Let
Mr.
me
Nelson, John Nelson. Did I get that right? As much as I honor so much John Davis Nelson, John Davis. The chat will correct me. But yes, 20 years younger. And not only that, he came looking for her.
Oh,
This
I
was
said
later
all
in her
chips there. That's what I'm talking
she was
about.
upstate New York. She had already settled. She had done all of the stuff, the relationships with the New York senators and the legislature in New York. She had done all of the stuff, and he came looking for her, knocking on her door like, I came to look for you. And
All right.
yes,
Now,
20
I ain't
years
necessarily
younger.
talking about 20 years young, but a baby boomer. Just give me a baby boomer. Put that Windows baby boomer in. Let me stop. We ain't supposed to. I told you I'm scandalous.
I love it. I love it. So I wanted to start with that one because that was a very appropriate compliment. So let's do this one from Bullet the Bunny. Hello and welcome back. Thank you for y'all. Y'all know if y'all like something here, y'all can donate to the channel, to the audience. I'm saying, right? Y'all can do a super chat. Y'all can give some money. It's important to support Black media. This needs to be a Black media shout out. Well, Ascending is a Black media shout out every week. So please support independent media. Please support Black independent media. Please support this channel. So Bullet the Bunny says, thank you so much for showing up. How do you allow yourself to trust new people in your organizing with so many experience with so wait, how do you allow yourself to trust new people in your organizing with so my experience of infiltration,
It
that's the
must
core
mean
thing.
so many experiences, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
many experiences, right, of infiltration. I'm struggling to stay open in my work. Thank you, Bullet the Bunny. You get the gist of her question, and we all do. So can you
Yeah.
can you address that?
I mean, I try not to focus on that. I just do the work that I do. I mean, I guess I'm someone who's there was a dichotomy in the movement between the overground and the underground. I always was part of the overground. I was always the one in front of the microphone. I was always the one speaking. But there were many people part of what they call the underground that was responsible for the liberation of Asada Shakur and many other things, as well. So I mean, I because I knew I wasn't doing anything that um would put me in jeopardy of the law or anything along those lines. I just did my work. I mean, they're good people in the movement, they're bad people in the movement. The people who are manipulated think that they're good, but they're being manipulated and do bad things. I just have to not take everything at face value. If something seems kind of weird, I always look to see if there's something underlying, and I don't just prejudge anything that just seems weird. I try to look a little deeper, and then you still don't know many things. Some things we're just finding out today that was going on 30, 40, 50 years ago that we did not know was being,
Right.
Manipulated. So, I mean, you just got to be yourself. I don't know how to. Um,
Would you agree that part of what could shore us up to Bullet the Bunny's question is that we have to expect it?
yes,
Anytime you get humans together to do organizing, or if it's a family gathering or whatever, language alert for those who don't curse, I curse, but you got to expect the dumb shit, right? You got to expect their oppositional forces to your work, to your good intentions. There's always going to be an opposite, and there's always going to be a hidden hand. There's no way around that in this, this space of, being human. So maybe if we start with that premise that we expected, but to your point, it's not about going around being mad with a chip on your shoulder, but just like we used to say in Black Neoforce and before, uh, check the source, right? Do your homework and whatever.
yes,
But I wonder if half of the battle is to expect it, because it's just not, it's hard. That's part of why we call it the struggle. It's not just the institutions that
yeah,
we're fighting, but human nature and the ones who sold us, right? Like there are
yeah,
lineages of people in current day 2025. They are the children, conceptually, ideologically, and maybe biologically, the descendants of those who sold us into slavery in the first place,
absolutely. They
right?
definitely are the descendants of the children, the grandchildren, the great grandchildren, not just of sold us, but even more recently lynched us. Okay,
Well,
with the
yeah,
we have the pictures of the little children at what they call picnics, because it was called picking,
yeah,
NIGGER. That's what the name would. The carnivals. They let schools out to be able to watch lynchings, and you saw the little children there that the parents brought there. So yeah.
and what's the book? What's the book? Without Sanctuary? Well, oh, y'all
Yeah,
help me.
without
Yeah,
sanctuary, about the lynchings,
that book.
there was no
Yeah,
sanctuary. There was nowhere
right.
for us to run. It wasn't like we were in the islands and we could go to the mountains and the hills and the maroons and all that. We could go to the Great Dismal Swamp, okay, yeah, but there was no sanctuary because the white folk had determined that they were going to live here. Wasn't going to be no 100 years of Palmares liberation over there in Brazil. You know what I mean? They were going to live here and they were going to stay here. So they pursued us and they sought us, and they passed laws, the fugitive slave law. Wherever we were not safe anywhere in this country. That's why
Anywhere.
Harriet Tubman had to
Anywhere.
take folk all the way to Canada, outside of the
Right.
jurisdiction of the United States. And all this is
Absolutely.
compounded to the issue of reparations as well. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it all connects. It all connects,
Yeah.
and we hope. Let us know in the comment if you see any value that if we're students of history, then we got to be consciously aware, energetically, symbolically, poetically, and concretely of the oppositional forces from within and without. Maybe that'll help. But to your point, I agree with you so much. Um, the to check the sources, right? To don't take anything at face value. But our ancestors taught us also that we have to expect victory. Like we have to expect that despite those oppositional forces, that we are going to be victorious. Like, why else are we still here?
Right.
Right? But to be victorious, we're still here because we have been victorious despite the children of, the bad people, to put
Yeah.
it simple.
Yeah.
Oh wait, let me put on here. Rolando, what's up? I knew he was gonna be here, Rolando. I will always looking at the chats later. But there's the link. Everybody in the chat, there's the link to the TED Talks where you're talking about reparations, an issue whose time has come. So click that link. Do yourself a favor. But here's another question. Let's do this. Shout out to Rolando again at Bullet Bunny. Good to see you. So my mic sounds nice. Thank you for returning. This is for you, Nkechi. Nkechi, can you describe your experience testifying before Congress on the issue of reparations and whether you see progress being made at the federal level? Clearly for you.
Okay, so many people think that the only time there was a congressional hearing on reparations was one that Sheila Jackson Lee did, where Ta-Nehisi Coates and many of the other luminaries spoke and testified. That was not the first. There have been many. They just didn't get the limelight because reparations was not elevated in the public mind during that time. So I've testified before Congress on a number of occasions. And with respect to progress being made at the federal level, what has happened is that because the federal level has been stymied for quite some time, the aegis of the legislative effort has been at the state and local levels. And I spoke to that earlier, the state level, about 3 states and one close behind, looking at abuses in their own backyard, opening up those caskets, and jurisdictions, numerous jurisdictions just all across the country. But much of that momentum came from the early work that we were doing back in the late 1980s, in terms of educating people across the country to the issue of reparations. So I've not only testified before Congress, I've also testified internationally before the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights on the issue of reparations. I testified before the United Nations Permanent Forum on the Advanced Permanent Forum of People of African Descent on the issue of reparations. So this is not just a movement in the United States. This is a worldwide movement. And just recently, the highest body internationally has held that climate reparations are justifiable. That's something that has just come out, much to the chagrin of the anti-environmentalist type folk, that where there's been climate devastations, that reparations need to be paid to those countries and entities that have suffered as a result. So again, this is not an issue or a topic that no one knows about. It's very much in the public eye, domestically as well as internationally.
Wow. And you have been such a leading voice. We appreciate you so much. I knew this was going to be pure power and pure fire, and I'm excited. I want to see if we can close out, and this is a new question from me that I forgot to give you a heads up about. But we always ask our guests, and you probably saw this on previous episodes. We ask our guests to share with us their ascending moment, whatever that means. At what point did you? One of many points where you really felt that it was a breakthrough moment for you, be it in your professional life or as in a relationship and the movement work? What is your ascending moment, if you don't mind?
So I gotta just recapitulate something that I said earlier. Everything leads back to that because it's my earliest memory of really just being shocked into consciousness. And it was just a solitary moment sitting in the den of my parents' library at home and opening this book by Howard Metcalf and Langston Hughes called A Pictorial History of the Negro in America, and seeing the bloated, bludgeon face of this 14-year-old boy in Mississippi at the bottom of the Tallahatchie River, who was from Chicago. And it left an impression on my mind that has never, ever, ever gone away. Of course, that was Emmett Till. And I think that was the moment when I knew that I needed to be part of a movement, number one, that made sure that young people would not have to stumble upon things like this, but to put out information in books to make sure that it will be a given. To know that I wanted to be a part of righting historical wrongs, which led to me, wanting to take up the issue of of law. Everything relates back to that Emmett Till moment. So I'm just so very grateful for all the attention around Emmett Till, his mother, Mamie Till Mobley, the document, the movie that came out, just all of the momentum around that, because I just feel it's come full circle. I was born in 1954, the year of the infamous Brown versus Board of Education decision. And then Emmett Till happened in 1955. Rosa Parks was in the summer of 55. Rosa Parks was in the winter of 55. All of these things were part of my existence, my life. And those were sending moments for me that everything relates back to everything. So
I thank you. Thank you. I was about to find myself stuttering because I'm just, this has been the least of what I really, really wanted to be, which is educational. And I knew you was going to go in. I knew you were going to go in and share all of these good things. Uh, Nkechi Taifa, we thank you so much. I say this all the time now. It's not goodbye, but so long. My grandmother used to always say so long. She didn't believe in goodbye. She's like, I don't do goodbyes. But we want to remind people once again to get your book. We know the audiobook is coming, right? Black Lawyer, Black Power, Black Lawyer, My Audacious Quest for Justice. It's a memoir. And so your alignment with people in the movement, like I said, in my promotion for this, the picture with you and Angela Davis and Brian Stevenson and just so many people, like you have, you're well regarded, and the praise is much deserved. So thank you so much, everybody who's listening and not watching. I'm gonna spell the website for you in case you don't get a chance to watch. NKECI. Start over. NKECHITAIFA.com. Right? I think I
yes.
froze.
That's
Okay,
where
there we
all
are.
my
Yeah.
information can be found there. If that website relates to all my other websites, if you just go to NkechiTaifa.com or NkechiTaifa.org, all my other websites are linked to that as well. Yeah,
Right. Thank you
got a
so
lot of
much.
information.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. I mean it sincerely. When that audio gets done, come back.
Yeah, okay. April, thank you so very much. I was so very honored and thrilled when you contacted me. And yes, our dear brother Todd Stephen Burrows has been a great influence on my life. So I appreciate your shout out to him as well.
Yes, yes, well deserved. We try to do our best here. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you back. I'm saying
Yeah,
so long. I'm not saying goodbye.
yeah.
All right, sis. Thank you so
Peace and
much.
blessings.
Thank you. Thank you. Family, this has been amazing. I am so happy. I forgot to tell y'all that there's some glitches today, some tech glitches. So I don't know if I'm freezing or whatever. Let's do some different banners, producers. Let's take this one down and let's go into our segment that we call Pin It. So this is where it's sort of like the free community town hall gathering, where we talk about the things that I want people to kind of pay attention to extra. And this is where I messed up. So guys, I'm going to ask you all to go to JSNJ. No, to put the banner back up, please. Pin it. I messed up. It's the JNS2.org. Sorry. We got to put this website up. I'm going to give my guys a minute to find it. That's my fault. But the Jesse Norman School of the Arts in East Side Atlanta is a leading fine arts, fine arts and academic program for our young people. Again, in Atlanta, East Side Atlanta. One of my dear friends from school just hit me to the fact that this school exists, right? That is doing phenomenal work, is relatively new here in Atlanta. The children are loving the work. I didn't get a chance to get a picture, but the guys will put the website up, even if we roll through all of the pennants. But I want to bring your attention And you can Google it for whoever's quick on the draw. The Jesse Norman School of the Arts in Eastside Atlanta. They're doing a fundraiser. Need you to go to their website and support this organization, because this is one of the things when I was going through the website and I saw the impact of this school, which is for free. Did I say that? These young people get to go and discover themselves and discover creativity and to do all of these wonderful things. And it's at no cost to them or the household. It's important because they need our financial support. So let me just say this part. We said it before, and I got to say it again. JNS2. There's the number 2, guys. My fault. Totally my fault. I know for a fact it's JNS, the number 2.org. The people think that if they only have $5, then they're not going to donate. They feel embarrassed. They don't want anybody to see that all they had was $5 or $25. They don't have $500, so they're not going to donate because they don't think it's going to matter. As someone who has been helping people raise money professionally since 2011, through crowdfunding very specifically, and people who, and as someone who sees the behind the scenes work, your $5, your $10, your $13, your $500, your $3, I promise you it matters. Please get out of the mindset, if this applies to you, that because you don't have a whole bunch of money that you don't want to donate. Because that whole bunch of money, that $3, $5, $25, $75 that you're holding is what the organization needs. They really do. So if you can't get over it, then just donate anonymously. You know what I mean? But nobody is judging you because you don't have $1,500 to donate. And if you do, great. But if you don't, please don't block the blessings. JNS2, JNSA2. I've totally messed this up. So that means we got to do pennant next week. That's on me. The number 2 is important, but we got to go there and .org and just definitely do your donation to the organization. So let's take that banner down and let's do the other pennants, and we'll do this. I'll donate. I already told my friend I would donate financially, but we're going to do a push on our social media as well because I want people to believe in the arts. One of the captions, one of the narratives, the parents said, I didn't even know my daughter could dance until they put her in the school. So that's the level of discovery that I'm talking about. So let's do some other pennants real quick. Let's do the one for Jazz in the Valley, which is on the screen right now. Y'all know Jazz in the Valley is celebrating 25 years. Last week, we had an amazing conversation with the founder of Jazz in the Valley, Greer Smith. It is next Saturday and Sunday. JazzinTheValleyNY.org. You have a special code, family. If you are in the area, if you're in the region and you can get to Poughkeepsie, which is easy to get to from New York City, if you're in New York City, you can go and save money. There's a special code. If you go to JazzinTheValleyNY.org, JazzinTheValleyNY.org, and you buy your ticket, and at the end you put in the code JAZZ25, you will save money. So Greer herself made that available. It's the early bird special, that code that doesn't expire. So definitely do yourself a favor next weekend. Next Saturday, the concert is free with Craig Harris. And Sunday, the ticketed concert, you can save money. So definitely do yourself a favor. The other pennant that we have is about your girl. I am available for speaking engagements, virtual and in person. You can contact my producer, my manager, my ride or die, who is critical to the success if we have any at Aquila Work Songs. Contact Drake Holiday at drake@aquilaworksongs.com. I am available for speaking and workshops. We'll talk about more specifically a little bit later, but I'd love to talk to you one-on-one for sure. Am I here for the comments? I think I'm here for the comments. Let's do that real quick. I think we kind of covered the major comments. I want to thank everybody. If you still have a moment to tell us from where you are ascending, definitely do that, family. Let's do who's coming up. We have amazing. Next week we have Marcia Pendleton. We're going to do another piece on Black theater. You will thank me later for that conversation. Also, Dr. Makola Abdullah, the president of Virginia State University, is coming the end of August. We're going to have Kevin Powell, Brewhouse Brooklyn. I can't say yet who's this other person. Yes, we are going to have Malik back. Malik Yoba, you all will remember that he had some glitches. So I got to reach out to him to make sure that Malik Yoba comes back. But the other person I can't say yet because we don't have a date and I got to get her permission to see when it's that we can, do a teaser. But you need to watch Ascending every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern on Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube because this is episode number 29 and we're doing so phenomenally well. I'm so happy and I thank you all for watching. Tell your people and like and subscribe. It's the freest way you can do to support Black and independent media. So producers, did I forget anything? I know I messed up a lot today. I'm so sorry. I'll cover down next.
We have one thing we can add for the Jesse Norman School of the Arts.
Okay. Is that the one in
that's the Atlanta one?
The east side?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So yes, on the screen, The Rising Stars is a concert benefiting the students of the Jesse Norman School of the Arts. It's October 12th for those who are listening and not watching. If we can get that website on there again, because there's a link where you can donate, but it's got to be the one with the number 2. Let's close that out. JNSA2. I'm surprised somebody's not yelling at me in the comments like, this the right website, April, get it together. Ain't nobody yelling at me in the comments for messing that up. I will definitely fix this next week and we'll do some stuff in between. But guys, thank you for finding that. For those who are watching, my other home is Georgia in the Atlanta area. So I definitely wanted to shout that out. But thank you everybody for watching. Guys, did I mess anything else up? Any errors and omissions that we need to be aware of before we close out?
No, you're good.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Aaron. And shout out to Drake, who's not with us today, but I know he's watching from God knows where in the world. But family, thank you. We will see you next Saturday, every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Don't say you support this work and you like me or you love me or whatever, and you ain't watching at some point or subscribing. So definitely do that. In the meantime, family, stay up.